So mami aye friend no Gertrude Araba Esaba Torkornoo Endra one ne legal team ekokopie mu ewo court file a motion to challenge a Supreme Court decision over her removal. Na ene abusia there is much interesting moment ahead. Obi baby say adan mami on penny baby ntina na sumu enjono. Abusia mami ne nye na adwen say obepene baby atna na after so file for that motion and the Attorney General raise objection. Asan so ashe eye court say maame no on me say deadline bi na sa deadline na on me say no abusua omombo ne motion ne na application ne omombo ntungu baabi a Attorney General ede sa ensem no atu da abusua enye asam keto akra na Attorney General na make an wahye Supreme Court say maame no omon dismissing the motion no and to baby no and the project at the atu screen no and chain at the amam Attorney General opposes Gertrude Torkornoo's review motion, cites missed deadlines and actual notice of proceedings, urge Supreme Court to dismiss motion. Intino abusia maame no the first row or the far form or the fan chim or the far far baby or the emfa. Inside intina maame no nkopene ba intina itene breaking news any latest update efa maame Gertrude Araba Torkornoo abusia ne honsem ena ye de brem ti breaking news na ankasa na ya project the ato ye screen no enchen the amam no Solomon owuso de nsem bi etudwa fa maame ya ye friend Torkornoo mom yenko na yenkonkotie ensema or the tudwa ye ba aka ato amoso na Ghana ha say open computer papa and as a laptop papa na we use ya borrow perosi computers and accessories abusuan eho na obenya laptop papa na we use free number ya egu ye screen and 0247030108 and I say 0597942133 perosi computers and accessories in the location enya Yurapan o Kumasi Bokrom Estate ila free na or laptop papa ebebre baby obi amome konkutin se my course
obi get to talk on.
I don't know the legal ramifications whether she's qualified.
Okay,
I don't know that.
Okay.
So even in that case, so you can see that all the retired chief justices are let me say were appointed under NPP administrations. So that may also make the government uncomfortable in appointing them there. So maybe I think that the only option available is to wait until December. I hear the current chief justice retires in December, right? That's it, in December. So that once he retires, then he's appointed to what? The Council of State. So the Council of State would have gone for about a 1.5 year with that requirement to be there. And that is sometimes what we do. I don't know whether it has a fatal flaw or I don't know whether it fatally affects the work in the Council of State. Either way, sometimes when you what's the name, you pray for the rain, you also deal with the mud. But going forward, the question would then ask me, I can then believe that any president of the Republic of Ghana that has been voted to office will come with his or her own chief justice. I believe we have institutionalized that. Because there's any new government that can, especially if the government is an NPP government, there is no amount of force in this country that will prevent that president from removing the existing chief justice. It is because we have not in the Torkornoo case, not only have we personalized, we have also deeply politicized it. So much so that foot soldiers have taken positions and trained positions. And the force from the foot soldiers to any future leader to make sure that you bring your, let me say, your own chief justice will be so strong that I don't think any leader will be able to avoid that. And that is so powerful. So I'm praying that it doesn't get there. Okay. I'm praying that any future leader that will come can say that, look, I understand your frustration and I understand your genuine and legitimate demands for me to change an incumbent chief justice. But if that chief justice is doing the work he's going to do, and if that chief justice is not breaking law, I don't think we should go ahead and do that.
Okay.
So that is what I pray and go back.
All right.
This case, we always knew it was going to get here and got here.
Hello, were you surprised by the outcome?
Oh, but it was obvious that the former chief justice was on the wild goose chase. You see, she refused to take an advice, and that is where it has. But she still has 4 cases at the Supreme Court, and then and then judgment will be delivered on the 2nd of July. So maybe in those cases it may go her way, but from where we are, or from where I sit, she didn't act tactfully in all these situations. If I'm to be, remember in those days I kept saying that resign and negotiate. That I was on various platforms with him, and I preferred this advice. But who asked somebody who said, "Whom am I?" She did not take some of the advice very serious. My brother Addo is saying that this case was deeply politicized. Yes, it was deeply politicized by the New Patriotic Party. See, the person that petitioned is not a politician. Or those that petitioned, I mean, 3 groups, 2 individuals, and then a civil society petitioned. Daniel Ofori, who formed the Whitechapel, is never a politician. He is a typical businessman. Ayamga Kogo is a police officer. And then there is a shining star or something that petition. So from that angle, I didn't see the politics of it or the partisan nature of it until we had Vincent Ekwasifwa enter the fray. When Vincent entered, what was his whole interest in the matter? He said he was asking the Supreme Court to injunct the entire process because Madam Torkornoo had not received the petition. And that before the president forwarded the petition to the Council of State for the determination of a prima facie, the affected party must have an input or respond to the petition so that it is considered as a whole. You ask yourself, at that material time, how did even Ekwasifwa get to know that Madam Torkornoo had been, there was a petition about Madam Torkornoo? How did he know? And how did he come to the conclusion that that copy or a copy of the petition had not gotten to the former Chief Justice? It means there were some discussions. That's the reasonable deductions you make out of that. And to make matters worse, Vincent Asifwa was represented by who? Godfrey Dame. Remember, when Godfrey decided to represent Vincent, some of us raised issues that this will be, you are pushing the whole thing into a political arena, the MPP and the NDC business. And we don't want it that way. Said no, there are times that good men must speak. This was Godfrey speaking. The president then made the petition available to the former Chief Justice. You remember? And even gave 10 days
to respond.
Now, when the response went, the Council of State, that is mandated under the Constitution to sit and determine whether or not there was a prima facie, said yes, indeed, there were questions for the former Chief Justice to answer. And so, as the Constitution provides in Article 146, they followed through the process. She was suspended. It was then that we started hearing from the member of Council of State, Madam Sophia Akufu, that, I mean, the voting that came, that out of the 31 members, 30 voted for and 1 abstained. And the presumption is that she abstained. But you see, abstinence does not mean you don't believe in the case. If she really had issues with it, she would have voted against it, not to abstain. Why was she abstaining? But she abstained. And even went to the extent of witnessing for the former CJ. I thought that was very serious and dangerous because at the Council of State, she, the former Chief Justice and the council member, is in charge of constitutional, legal, and petitions. So every petition that gets to the Council of State, she gets to open it and discuss with other members. You have done so, you have taken part in the decision, then you come around and then say that you are testifying against the very group.
Well, but constitutionally, she has to take part of the decision making.
Yes, so she did.
Yes.
But to go to the extent of...
It doesn't mean that it wrote her right to disagree.
No, but that's that you were part of it. You have taken a decision. You are in charge of the legal, constitutional, and petition. To go to the extent of being a witness to the removed Chief Justice was an overkill. So I said that I was going to petition for her removal from the council. And indeed, I was going to do it till I got wind that she has sent the resignation. That was all I backed off. Because then my point was that if you were going to allow her to be with the Council of State, how was that compatibility going to be? I mean, the working as a unit going to be achieved? That we discuss something today, tomorrow, I don't know whether you are going to be witness against the very decision that we have taken. Especially when she, as the former Chief Justice of the Council of State member, had used the very provision that Article 146 says to establish a prima facie to get Charlotte Osei removed from office.
But her issue was that she had issues with the process.
What process was that?
And then in the Charlotte Osei, she said that she gave Charlotte the chance to respond to the issues.
But so you see the insincerity.
What is insincerity?
At the time that decision was made by the Council of State, the removed Chief Justice had sent the response. So what was she talking about? She was allowed to respond. I just told you that she was given even 10 days.
Yes.
So that point becomes moot. You understand? When she was taken to the committee, she was afforded the opportunity to have counsel. In fact, when there were about 4 lawyers or so, she was allowed to do whatever. In fact, when the Constitution prescribes against holding the proceedings in camera, she defied that. She came out and held a press conference.
But that is holding the proceedings in camera. Her press conference is not part of the
but if you come and do a press conference and expose whatever has happened at the committee level, what are you doing? You are exposing the committee.
Does the Constitution prescribe what she did?
I mean, I was going to test the law because, you see, there is a reason why they say in camera. What it means is that whatever happens there must stay there. But if you come out and expose it, that means you were inviting the committee members to also come and state their side of the story. What would you have done? Isn't all public hearing that we'll be doing? And remember, there was citizenship, Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Reforms or Systems, Kwabena Bonfa's group, that also went to court. That were even asking for the whole proceedings to be held in public hearing, which was dismissed by the Supreme Court, and also even injunct the entire process. There again, the Supreme Court said no. Beyond that, former Chief Justice Torkornoo herself went to the Supreme Court to injunct this whole process, which was also dismissed. You get my point? So there has been everything about it has followed due process. She decided after that she would go to the ECOWAS court. And I remember very well at that time, the time that she decided to go to ECOWAS court, I gave her an example or reason why she must not go. That there was this Nigerian Supreme Court justice called Walter Onojin. Walter Onojin in 2019 was removed from office. And what was the offense? On a matter of having failed to declare his assets. Onojin was withdrawn or removed from office. Now Onojin was living in Lagos. The distance between Lagos and Abuja is as short as 20 minutes. He could have gone to the ECOWAS court and he processed it and left there. So you going to ECOWAS court was not going to change anything, especially where ECOWAS will still fall on the laws of this country to make a determination. They will look at Article 146 and see whether or not the right processes were followed.
Okay.
What was the ruling yesterday? They said everything they followed through the laws of the land.
Okay.
And we are grateful that at least the country has been saved the trouble of parting away with $10 million. You know, if she had won, it would have been $10 million, so, which is more than the budget of the NCC and the other one, social welfare. We are going to give to one person.
Yeah, thank you. Hamza.
I knew this was going to happen. I don't know your moderating strategy. It's for myself and after that.
I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, the moderating strategy is a bit worrying. I can't tell what the agenda is, but It is allowed. So
Hamza,
we will be sandwiched in the middle of the prison.
But Hamza, you and I, we are brothers.
No, that's why I'm asking.
But the way you are doing it today is like you are putting your brother.
Anyway, but that is not to say that I cannot. Sometimes we can see through the
Hamza always does this. He does this purposefully. Listen, it's deliberate. He does this every Thursday. It's deliberate.
It's about all of us. It's about all of us.
The God is going to have a problem. If you are sitting here too, it's because of the face not here, he has a problem.
But just I've gone on programs with him where he spoke last.
First of all,
so what's the
first of all,
he likes to speak last.
You haven't I gone on programs with you where you spoke last?
First of all,
yes. Okay, let's make progress. Yeah.
Yes. So on the issue of Madam Justice Torkornoo, you see, Kojo, even before I go on to the substance of the issue, permit me to correct an erroneous impression created this morning by my brother, Dr. Zato, to the effect that indeed President Mahama would have a difficulty replacing the Chief Justice on the Council of State because of their perceived partisan persuasion.
Yeah.
That is clearly not rooted in anything. It is not rooted in fact because many of us, and that's why I said that President Mahama has suffered, many of us, I remember 2008 or so, called for the removal of Madam Justice Georgina Woods. And at the end of the day, when
2009.
Yeah. When those in the NDC made those calls, and we eventually won power, petitions came. Some of the petitions were handled under President Mills, and some were handled under President Mahama against Madam Georgina Woods. And President Mahama, in handling these petitions, dismissed them of not being matching the test.
I thought it was President Mills who dismissed those petitions. I thought it was President Mills who dismissed the petitions.
Yes, and after President Mahama, two petitions came against Georgina Woods.
Okay.
And I remember clearly that the accusations even from within the National Democratic Congress was to the effect that they were attending the same church. And so President Mahama was so uncomfortable getting her out of office and probably played a role even under President Mills in the decision not to take her out of office.
Yeah.
So, and it's true, the two of them attend the same church. And there's some form of mutual respect between them. And if that is anything to go by, President Mahama will not have any difficulty getting somebody like Madam Georgina Wood to represent the state on the Council of State.
What about retired Justice Enini Yeboah?
Yes, and Enini Yeboah as well.
Of course.
I know that. Look, you see, we are not talking about any ordinary politician. We are talking about the man, President Mahama, a man even the NDC leading members agree that when it comes to his persona, he's a humble leader, he is engaging, and he respects dissent.
Yeah.
Their own director of communications, Nana Akomia, is on record to have heaped all manner of praises on the personality of President John Dramani Mahama. And so we know him. That art of statesmanship is there. He would not have a difficulty. But you know, my interest on this matter, I would want a situation where even these former Chief Justice decline an offer extended to them. Because many of us have argued, even in the past, that look, we would get to a situation where we even have no surviving former Chief Justice. What happens as far as our constitutional provision is concerned? That becomes a lacuna to be filled. So I am eager to see the test. My prayer is that they should decline, even if an offer is made to them. Then we can go back to Parliament and use the processes within Parliament to see how we can fill that lacuna. And if a decision is taken in Parliament and people are uncomfortable, they go to the Supreme Court to test the law. And the Supreme Court can take advantage of that particular impasse to give a direction in terms of its ruling. So that we know that at any point in time we don't have a former IGP or a former Chief Justice. This is the way to go about it, because we would eventually get there. And that's why I'm interested in this matter. Having said so, now to the substantive matter of George Torkornoo. And Kojo, I cannot make this presentation again without making references to President Mahama. I am not in any shape or form excited about the fate of Madam Torkornoo. And I know that even President Mahama, in forwarding these petitions to the Council of State and reaching conclusions in terms of the prima facie and subsequent suspension, were not easy decisions on the part of President Mahama. Not at all. Regardless of the picture the MPP has succeeded in painting. Because we saw, when the law was on his side, how petitions against Georgina Woods were not carried through. We saw, when the law under President Mahama, we saw, when the laws were not on his side, how petitions, even though he was sitting president, were received and dealt with against his own appointee, Madame Loretta Lamte at Shiraj. And so regardless of how President Mahama feels about Madam Justice Torkornoo, again, we cannot conclude that this is an exciting position for the president, especially when you know that the decision would have repercussions on not just the woman, but her family, and the family would be paid. And knowing President Mahama as a sensitive leader, I am sure that all those issues were taken into consideration, but the laws of Ghana is the fundamental supreme law of the land that ought to be respected regardless of the emotions and feelings of people. So it doesn't mean that President Mahama is in any way or shape or form excited about the fate of Madam Torkornoo. But you see, look, what were the issues?
So I've just cross-checked your the issue about Mahama's first term. It was former retired Supreme Court Judge Justice Francis White-Pega who petitioned against that. And then President Mahama said it lacked merit.
Precisely. So, yeah. Precisely. So you see, that is the man we are talking about this morning. Now, so that's why I was a bit worried when I heard that President Mahama was against the laws of this country. He had breached the 1992 Constitution, Article 146, and the MPP said all kinds of things, including the former Chief Justice. And I remember on this very platform, I made the point that wherever they go, President Mahama's position would be vindicated. And I even dared the Ghana Bar Association to act on the threat that they were going to go to court on the issue of the suspension of the Chief Justice. Did you see them in any court?
No, I didn't.
And you see, Kojo, what were the issues? This recent ruling demonstrates or vindicates President Mahama's position and the Council of State, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And it also exposes how Madam Justice Torkornoo breached not only the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, but even the equitable maxims that we all know as first year law students. And I'll demonstrate why. First of all, the claims before the ECOWAS Court, they were to the effect that her human rights had been violated. The processes adopted by the Puaman Commission or committee were irregular and affected her constitutional human rights, her fundamental human rights. The ECOWAS Court is saying that, look, that is inaccurate. Your claims are not supported in any way by the facts. We have looked at your claims and they have no weight. They have no weight in terms of the law. That is what they are saying. Her human rights were not violated. Her right to work was not violated, I think under Article 25 or so. Human rights under Article 7 of the African Charter were not violated. That is what they are saying. The court is simply saying that the processes leading to your suspension and removal from office were all regular and in line with the constitutional dictates of the 1992 Constitution. Remember, she was not only just challenging her removal, she was also challenging the suspension, the initial suspension by President Mahama, acting on the advice of the Council of State. The ECOWAS Court says that these actions were regular and that the presidency and the government of Ghana did nothing wrong as far as the constitutional dictates of this country is concerned. She was wrong. And now back to why the point I made when I said that, look, she even breached the maxims. It started with the Constitution. My brother Solo made reference to it. We all know that the Article 146 proceedings are supposed to be in camera.
Yes.
She decided to do a press conference on it. and we cautioned against it and said that that was a breach of Article 146 and a disrespect to her colleagues on the Supreme Court bench.
How so? And how does that break the maxims of equity?
I will get to the maxims of equity. They tell you that he who goes to equity must go to clean house.
Yes.
So if you are going to enforce your legal right and you are claiming that government of Ghana failed in its legal duty in terms of your removal of office, yet you are the one known and on record to have breached Article 146 in terms of its injunction on all of us that those processes were supposed to be in camera.
146.
So have you gone to equity with clean hands?
146.
But
No,
why?
I'm coming. You asked me how it breached the
Yes, exactly.
of equity.
But
I'm just giving you.
But does the law also prescribe her from doing press conference?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you under Article 146. And as a former Chief Justice, she ought to have known better. Because it says all the proceedings are supposed to be in camera.
Yeah, that's the proceedings.
My goodness.
What she did was a part of the proceedings.
She's part of the proceedings. You brought it out. Was she not part of the proceedings? Why? Were you the one representing Justice Torkornoo before the committee?
Have I ever represented?
I'm just asking you a simple question. So if you, as a revered Chief Justice of this country, you are being told that those processes are supposed to be in camera, not just for beautification purposes. There's a reason. There's a rationale behind it.
No, but the press conference, I'm finding how the press conference can be said to be part of
If
the
you
process.
organize a press conference and you are given details of what transpired in a committee, you are still a subject of interest before. When the committee was not yet done
But
how difficult?
Hold on. But the press conference was not detailing from A, B to Z what happened in there. It was about her human rights, how she was said, and blah, blah, blah.
I will accept that. I would accept your question as someone wanting to know. So, not simply because, you have not. So, but you see, Kojo, the most important thing is that she spoke about witnesses. Yes. She spoke about how she was handled in the committee. She spoke about certain questions that were asked. These are all part of the in-camera proceedings that she brought out as far as her press conference was concerned.
Unless a court pronounces, I find it difficult to act.
No, a court has pronounced.
That what she did was unconstitutional.
But if her claims on the press conference were founded, you think that would have been discussing this today?
No, I'm saying that you trying to get me to understand that someone being part of a process and coming out to organize a press conference.
Of in-camera
in-camera is what?
That we are doing it away from
the public. The public is not supposed to know what is happening there, not true?
Yes.
So if you bring it out, what have you done?
And why? Did she bring exactly what happened? She just spoke about. What?
I don't want to make this discussion about you, but let me proceed. Let me proceed. But I think the viewers are better.
You're also looking at the time, right?
His time is up, but I'm engaging me more. That's why. Yeah.
The viewers are better judges. But for me, let me conclude, because I would have also made references to other equitable maxims of equity to demonstrate to you how this case has failed. But you see, on the...
So you learned from me, and then
when the NPP, when we started the process, the NPP said, oh, even Article 146 is too strict. There's a need for you to change Article 146. It's too strict, blah, 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 blah. And it will lead to unfairness on the part. Another beautiful equitable maxim is they say that equity follows the law. And where the strictness of the law would lead to unfairness, equity steps in. And that is the reason why we have institutions like the ECOWAS Court. Yeah. If they had a problem with Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution, that maxim would have been applied to grant her justice.
Okay.
And to conclude, Kojo, interestingly, where are the voices? Who said that the NDC was persecuting her?
They have run.
Where are the voices? Where is the minority? Who, in less than 1 year in office, thought that there was everything wrong with our judicial architecture in this country?
The former Chief Attorney General.
Where is Sophia Akufo?
To withdraw from the case.
Where are all of them? Who made it appear as though it was the NDC and President Mahama who did not like Madam Justice Torkornoo? And I was shocked even today by my brother's submission.
Thank you.
Dr. Zatu. He was part of the voices.
I'm grateful to you.
Who said that we were politically persecuting this woman?
But I just said that this morning too. It's true.
You see?
How was he
I
persecuted?
have said that apart from the
How
letter
was he
of the
persecuted?
judges, this is one of the biggest assaults
it's
on the
untenable.
independence
It's untenable.
in this
So the
country.
ECOWAS is also
My point is, I am here.
So the ECOWAS is persecuting
I'm
us.
telling you that apart from the medal of the judges, this is one of the biggest assaults on the independence
not
of the
true.
judiciary
It's not
in this
true.
country.
It's not
That is my position.
It's not true.
Okay.
Why the former chief?
Thank you very much.
I am saying that is my position. I'm telling you that I will say my
I've not come to
position.
you. Let me bring in Kofi Tonto now. Kofi.
Okay, abusuya we ne ensema eposo e political highway so maame Torkornoo and ICC ade ye twa na chi nko a e political highway so yebada mase samo jepene kokotiza ensemwe edemai aha gossip politics TV so